Hi everybody, welcome. This is Mike from Voteaire, and we're going to talk about the Voteaire Escrow Smart Contract project today, and this is specifically our project completion report. So the challenge that we were in was the Fund 9, DAOs Love Cardano, and our proposal was to integrate a smart contract or native script solution into the Voteaire platform to allow locked funds to be unlocked by the outcome of a ballot. So some background, if you're not familiar with Voteaire, Voteaire is a simple to use on-chain voting platform which allows anyone to create a ballot on Cardano. Currently, ballots though are stored in metadata, transaction metadata specifically, meaning they are on-chain and auditable but cannot be accessed by smart contracts. So just a quick view around Voteaire if you're not familiar with it. This is what the user interface looks like. You can go to view the ballots, and these are all the previous ballots that have happened and some that are up and coming. And it's very easy just to pair your wallet and vote. And to create a ballot, it's just a matter of filling out a form, submitting a transaction, and your ballot is on chain. So what did we do? Our solution. Really the fundamental problem that we had to solve is based on the fact that Voteaire was designed to be easy to use and easily auditable by looking at blockchain data. But the trade-off for having data easily human readable is that it's not readable by smart contracts. So how do we efficiently encode Voteaire results into smart contract readable data? Now there was a couple options that we assessed. The two main approaches were one, updating Voteaire to change the way that data is stored on chain. The second was to implement or utilize an Oracle solution to essentially write those results to chain. So any approach that we looked at, we wanted to take into account things like decentralization, performance, the impact on the current solution, security, and reliability. So some additional decisions that we had to make as well throughout the project were the smart contract language. So we actually looked at Plutus TX, the standard Plutus library from IOHK, as well as Helios, which is a newer smart contract language based in JavaScript. We eventually landed on Helios, mainly for its speed of development and also the great community. They have a very vibrant community of people, talking through the development of the language, and the development of the language itself is moving very quickly as well. And also on the decentralization side, we eventually decided to take an approach which will allow us to eventually outsource the ballot counting to community members, because we thought this would be important long term. So implementation-wise, we created an Oracle solution with open source ballot counting scripts, off-chain infrastructure for collecting the results from these nodes and writing to the blockchain, and also a reference implementation of an escrow contract using data from Voteaire to decide the outputs of the contract, so where some funds should go. So the workflow, the way it works is you have a requester, someone who has created a ballot and is going to want to use the results of that ballot in their contract. So a requester will create a data request, which is a UTXO on-chain, that has the following information in it. It'll have the proposal ID of the ballot, the creator of the data request, so that they could eventually get their min ADA back if they want to, a deadline after which they can request their funds back, a list of oracles that the requester trusts to count the ballot, the min number of signatures that you require, so the minimum number of agreeing oracles from this list, a payment address. This is really for future functionality where we expect these oracles will want to be incentivized, and then a results which starts out empty because it's just a data request. So eventually these oracles or these community nodes are going to count up the results based on the metadata on chain. They're going to sign the results, and those signed results will get submitted to a validator script, which will create a transaction which will consume that data request and output a data result. That data result will have the same data in it, except it will have populated results, which then an escrow smart contract can reference that data result and use those results how they like. So the way we're envisioning it, and the escrow contract that we've created is you get result A, then you pay address A with whatever's locked in the contract. If you get result B, then you pay address B with whatever's locked in the contract. So the architecture of this, we have the current Voteaire app, which is writing to the Cardano blockchain. Over on the right here, we have these community nodes which are reading the results, and they are reporting results with a signature of their results into a data collection API. So we've actually created this data collection API as well, which will store all the results and the signatures. Once it has all of the signatures, it will, through this results aggregator, create a transaction which consumes that request, creates a data result, and writes that to the blockchain. Oops. So project outputs, I'll walk through those now. We have an architecture document which really describes more in detail, which I just discussed. The Voteaire contracts repo, which has the validator script for the script which validates the oracles, taking a data request, moving it into a data result, as well as the escrow contract itself. There's the off-chain repo, which has all of the off-chain components. And then there's also the vote counter repo, which is kind of a standalone script that anyone can actually run to count up the results of a ballot. We also have a draft UI design. This is actually in the architecture document, but this is how we expect we're going to take this functionality and put it into the Voteaire user interface. So this is the Voteaire architecture document. So I'll just kind of walk through the table of contents. So this talks about kind of the upfront analysis we did, looking at the Oracle solution as well as updating the voting mechanic, looked at our comparison between Plutus and Helios, as well as the technical implementation overview, the logic of the smart contract, how that works, the off-chain infrastructure, talking about the Oracle API, the transaction builder itself, and the counter script, as well as walking through the Escrow Smart Contract as well. And you can see in the appendix, we put the UI design for Voteaire integration, which you can see over here. In the Voteaire GitHub repository, you'll see 4 public repositories. One is the on-chain spec, which has been here from the beginning, and this really has the spec and how Voteaire saves the data to chain and how it works. The next one you see is the escrow contracts. So this has both the, like I mentioned, the contract for the Oracle as well as the escrow script. The off-chain components, so this has all of the various off-chain components for building these transactions as well as collecting the keys from the counters. And then the ballot counter script, which is meant to be a standalone. It's all Dockerized, so you can just do a Docker compose build and Docker compose up. That will run the nodes and all the infrastructure you need locally. So what's next? So really for us, it's going to be keep growing our user base and learn what people need. So the more people we meet, the more people we talk to, we really start to figure out what people need. Next, we obviously want to implement this functionality we just built in production with a partner project. So anyone wants to do this in the wild, come talk to us. And finally, create an easy-to-use UI based on learnings from the first few projects. So we haven't built this into our UI yet because we don't believe that we know exactly how people are going to want to use it. So once we've done this a few times, we'll put that into the UI, probably based on the draft UI documents, UX documents we have, and then keep developing the platform through Catalyst. So a couple ideas that we have for Fund 10 are DID or SSI integrations, potentially looking into privacy, so maybe leveraging Midnight. I don't think that'll be ready yet, but that's something we're definitely looking at in the future. And beyond that, the sky's the limit. So that's it. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll see you in Fund 10.